Let's continue. I hope you're getting used to all that nucleophiles coming in, 180 degrees, elimination reaction. That is very important. That's why I decided to introduce it for this lecture, instead of just trying to memorize, because I know students memorize this carbon without knowing the mechanism, and there are quite a few silly mistakes during the meeting. So now you know the mechanism, and there is no excuse for those mistakes. Okay, let's continue on. Bromohydrogen formation with NPS. This is NPS stands for N-bromosuccinimide. This is the succinimide. This is the bromine part. So NBS, N-bromosuccinimide, is essentially a source of positive bromine. Okay? So this alkene will form bromonium ion. So it just forms slowly in the solution, in the presence of water and DMSO. There is a steady state, low concentration of bromine. There is nothing special about this reagent. Of course, there is a big difference when you use it. Like, have you ever seen bromine, like 100% bromine? This is a very nasty reagent. If I were to drop, it's sold in ampoules. When you open it, there's a brown smoke coming out of it. And if I were to drop like a 5 ml ampule here, we'd have to evacuate the whole building. It's very, very toxic. Okay? Instead, NBS is a nice solid. You take it, it does exactly the same thing in your reaction. It's much nicer to work with. Sometimes you still have to work with bromine. Okay? There is no choice. But ideally, if you were to have a choice, and believe me, when you go and you'll be exposed to the lab conditions, you will try and choose your reagents wisely. Okay, so N-bromosuccinimide will give us bromine at low concentration. And again, the same story. Bromonium ion will form. Bromonium ion will form right here. There is a greater water concentration. Essentially, it's a solvent. Okay? There's a lot of it. The ratio of bromide after the first step to water is 1 to 100,000, 10,000, million. There's a lot. And water, pay attention again, we form bromonium ion, and water opens at the site which is more which bears more carbocation character. And this is, of course, benzylic position, which has a lot, which is a strong stabilization for the carbocation character on this carbon. Okay? Therefore, not surprisingly, OH opens the bromonium at benzylic position. Okay? Yes?
In this one, you don't have to worry what sim or anti-weight because it's not cyclic?
Yeah. So there's a free rotation around this sp3 bond, and it doesn't matter. So this is DMSO. This is just an organic solvent. Helps to dissolve the reactants. It's also miscible with water. Unlike, for example, can you bring up an example, something that's not miscible with water? Oil. Okay, you're not using oil for the reactions, so something. Hopefully. But oil is a good example. They're not miscible. Let's say hexane, which is hydrocarbon chain. Common, not that common, but if you mix it with water, you're going to have 2 layers. Actually, there was an interesting story. We had a French postdoc. So we were using solvents. They all come in 4-liter jars. So he pours ethyl acetate, which is common organic solvent, into a 1-liter beaker. So the bottle was empty, so he only got 500 ml. Then he takes another bottle of ethyl acetate, pours another 500 ml, and he clearly sees 2 layers. And he looks at it and it's like, whoa, these are 2 different ethyl acetates. And it turns out that there was a mix-up in the shipment. So there were like a lot of bottles that were labeled as ethyl acetate, but they were something completely different. So my point was, if he were the organic solvent, another organic solvent was I'm sure if he were to shake it up more vigorously, then he would get it. My point is, whenever you do the lab work, chemistry is still very much, even though we may talk about this for a long time, but till you get into the lab and do things, there's no way you will know what to do. And basically, it's very much just like biology and biochemistry, very much experimental science. Successful people, if you want to be a successful scientist, or no matter which level, whether you end up with bachelor, master, whether you go to life sciences, to chemistry, whether you become a medical doctor, what's important is attention to the details. When you do an experiment, and you may repeat someone else's procedure, but maybe they haven't noticed something that you might notice. Color change, heat of the reaction. So sometimes that's what we call, a person sits and looks at the reaction, called babysitting the reaction. So, but that is an very important to visualize, to feel that reaction, and to pay attention to what's happening. Because that's how most of the discoveries happen. People were aiming at something, instead they got something else. But the difference between people who made the discovery and people who didn't is that those who made the discovery actually paid attention. They were looking for something. They found something new, something unexpected, and followed, characterized the compounds, thought about the mechanism, and came up with this great idea. A lot of discoveries were made this way, including some things we're discussing. So